Well, I'm going to get started. Welcome to meeting number 15, Monday, November 23rd, 7 o'clock. I'd like to just say that due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals and to comply with the province's state of emergency order, the council chambers will not be open to the public to attend council meetings until further notice. As noted on tonight's agenda, if members of the public had any comments, they could provide them by email to the clerk by 4:30 today. Please note that any email comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into the public record later in the agenda.
We're there now.
Thank you, Mike. Councillor Rayner. A reminder that members of the public can attend this evening's council meeting virtually. This was noted on this evening's agenda and could be done by contacting the clerk by email prior to 4:30 today to request a Zoom invitation to the meeting. And this meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be posted on the township's website within 48 hours. At this point, I'd like us to sing O Canada, and the opening petition will be by Councillor Trombetta. And as usual, I'll just kind of lead us out. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. And Councillor Trombetta, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, hold on one second. Just let me scroll the screen here. Thank you. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use our best skills and judgments, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with the best of our community and fellow citizens. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any changes in order of items on the agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, I would like to ask, are there any disclosure of pecuniary or conflict of interest? And Madam Clerk, I see none again. Thank you. Are there any requests to address items on the agenda? Ms. Keith?
There was none that I received, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, were there any members of the public that had emailed comments prior to 4:30 today with respect to a specific item on the agenda as permitted by section 6(7) of the procedural bylaw?
No, Mr. Mayor.
And then there are no appointments or presentations. So I invite Regional Councillor Witteveen to provide his remarks for this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and members of council and staff and the public. This evening, I'd like to share with you my involvement at the region and share some highlights of our committee meetings. So on November the 9th, myself and the mayor attended the corporate services meeting as there was a presentation by the Boulevard Strategy Group, the proposed funding model for West Lincoln Hospital and the future funding request into the future of Niagara. So this policy is an important part of this funding request for West Niagara. So discussion took place on the importance of the shovel-ready project, and the committee supported to direct the policy and request to the capital budget for funding consideration. So as you all know, our request is 21% of the local share, amounting to the 12.6 million. So later in November, So we will be dealing with that that item I saw today in early January when we look at the budget at that time. So and then later in November, when presented, the policy was supported by the majority of council, and now it'll be the hands of staff to find a fair and equitable matrix and formula for West Niagara hospitals and set a precedence for the future requests of this nature. So I believe we have jumped one hurdle and then continue to work hard in seeing this important project come to fruition. So I just wanted to express and thank our mayor and our staff for the hard work and dedication on this file, because we all know how important it is to our residents here in West Niagara. So later in the afternoon, I attended a planning and economic development meeting. We're given an update on the Glendale plan as it's going through a long, lengthy public process. And we were given an update by staff giving us some high level information on what's driving the Niagara economy in this post-COVID situation. So residential and commercial growth were main drivers here in Niagara, and it looks like it's going to be that case for many years as we see the demand has increased for people to come and live here in Niagara. So, and of course, this creates challenges for us here in Niagara, is keeping up with the infrastructure demand, mainly in the wastewater division. So don't be surprised if we continue to see increase in rates in this department as new systems will need to be maintained and upgraded. So then the next day, I attended the Public Works meeting, and we were presented with the final draft of the producer's responsibility for recyclables. So where producers are going to be to maintain the same collection, service types, standards, and level as delivered by the local programs until December 31st, 2025. So producers also have an option after this time to set up a depot type collection, but must provide similar operating hours as being provided by now our municipal systems. So finally, the regulations will have to be completed by December 31st, 2022. And at that time, things will start to move forward. So we had a quick update by the Niagara Regional Transit on Demand pilot. And we all know that it was launched in August of 17th this year. And the ridership from August to October for West Lincoln was 319 trips with 347 riders. So this service is being fully utilized in its operating hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And to date, this pilot has had great uptake from our residents. And I look forward to seeing the results of this pilot as we look into the future for the next steps for West Lincoln. So later on in the day, I attended a public health and social service meeting. We had a presentation by our staff on Built for Zero. So it's an initiative on homelessness services and talking about a shelter pilot project. So the objectives were to develop a by name list of all known individuals to establish a coordinated access system that standardizes for intake, assessment, referral, prioritized services in a community. So this by name list is very critical to ending chronic homelessness. And it's a real time record of all individuals. So the pilot program consists of 14 beds, housing focused shelter pilot that has 27 intakes to date with 13 exit to permanent housing. So as of November the 1st, they've also had 66 individuals with an outflow of 52. So the total active cases that are out there in Niagara are 320 that need to be addressed and solved. So interesting, this model is being shared with other public health agencies in the province as a model to end homelessness. So the pilot program has been extended and is being supported through provincial and federal funding. I think we should be proud of this initiative, as our staff has become leaders in this project of ending homelessness. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to update you on what we're doing here. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Regional. Okay, Councillor Ganan?
I just wanted to thank you, Councillor Witteveen, for the information about the on-demand. I think I asked you a while back, whenever you did get any kind of stats, that we'd be interested in hearing it. Last year, when that was proposed to us, it was $250,000. And it came to us at budget time, and we certainly didn't have an extra $250,000. Have you heard anything regarding the cost of that service for another year?
I'm going to go to Madam CAO, because I think that there's a little bit of misunderstanding in your question there, Councillor Ganan. So I'm going to go to the CAO.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Through Regional Councillor Witteveen, or to Councillor Ganan. Our base, so the money that the municipality pays through our contributions to the regional taxes is what pays for this first.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I absolutely know that, Madam
Okay.
CEO, and I'm pleased that you put that in too. The question has been around and around and around the municipality in the last little while. I know that is covered, but the question that is being asked now is, why can't somebody in Caister ride into Smithville? Why can't they come? And aren't we encouraging people to go and shop elsewhere when we have only a service that allows for leaving our municipality? And that is the service that I was that I was talking about, that was $250,000. So I know that because I'm very interested in looking at whether we can possibly extend it. But at that rate, even if you round up to 350 people, we're subsidizing, $900 almost, for each ride if we pay into that. But it was presented to us as a pilot. So I'm just wondering if what the actual costs are as they're figuring that out, and whether it's still so high, or whether now that they've changed the model that they're using in terms of the type of vehicles, even if that has changed. But I haven't seen anywhere any information. I haven't been able to find it on proposed costs for a future year. And as we go into budget time, we would need to know that before we get smack dab in the middle of it, the way it happened last year. So I do appreciate where you were going with that. And I am aware of that. It's just the add-on part that people are now hearing about and wanting. And that's a concern. But we had no starting figures at all, which is why I began my line of questioning by asking about,
Okay.
the ride. So does that make sense?
Appreciate that. Yeah. So, Councillor Ganan, is there still there's still a question floating there that perhaps Albert might be able to weigh in on?
Well, I just wonder if there's been any talk at any of Councillor Witteveen's meetings or any of the presentations that he's been at where the price of within your municipality has been discussed at all.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ganan, I believe during this pilot, it's being calculated, and we're getting the ridership and the costs. We're getting actually, I believe the cost that was presented to you was a projected cost. So now we're doing the pilot through our transit levy that we all pay, and that's covering this service. So till the pilot is completed, I think, in all fairness to all councillors, you will not be able to measure the full service or what way you would like to go unless till this pilot is complete, because then you will have some true numbers of ridership, and it will give you a baseline, because I believe if you may go to the next higher level of service, obviously your ridership is going to increase. And I've had the same people kind of reach out to me as local business people, or even through community care was probably where I was tapped on the shoulder, And I said, well, let us go through this pilot program, then we can understand, the pros and cons of this service to our residents. And then from where you, counselor, sit, you will have to then can make, I think, a better decision, because you have some numbers, some true cost of what it costs to operate it. So I think that's what you're looking for. And of course, it can't come soon enough to some people, but I believe a pilot's a pilot and we have to let it run its course. So those are my comments.
Thank you. But just further to that, was the pilot for whatever time period in 2020? Or was it from August to August? Do you have any idea of that, Counselor?
No, I don't know that 100%. I can't answer that with certainty. So I will look into that and get that for hopefully for our next update. I can confirm how long the pilot was, but I believe it was a year. That was my thought, but I will reconfirm my thought.
Okay, thank you. I know that when it came to us, they were talking about $250,000 for 2020. It had to be in our 2020 budget that we were allocating for that. And that was part of the problem, because they weren't going to be able to start even prior to COVID. They were looking to start in May. And so already, that was a time that was relatively short. So anyway, if you can find out more, I would appreciate it. And I'm sure other counselors would too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ganang. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Regional Councillor Wedderbeam. Actually, just to, I guess, echo Councillor Ganang's comments there. I noticed that there was, in the last little while, some chatter on social media in terms of residents even, I guess, misunderstanding what services were actually covered and what weren't. And I guess at one situation, one individual had reached out to them, and I guess maybe a misunderstanding of where they could go, but they were under the impression that the service wasn't offered at all in West Lincoln. And I had reached out to them and corrected that matter and explained what we actually signed up for and where everything lies. So the more clarity we can get, the better, and the way how we get the information out is better. But yeah, there's definitely some, I think, concerns, or maybe not even concerns, but definitely some confusion around it just because how it's broken down. So, but yeah, $250,000 is a lot for our municipality. So I'm hoping that I think at the time when council, decided not to go that direction, we were kind of all the mindset that how could we dump 3.5% on the tax base, and hoping that the Grimsby, Lincoln, and Pelham would I guess be the test pilots or the guinea pigs in the matter, and hopefully they would find a more cost-effective measure that could include us down the road. So I'm glad to see that going forward. The other thing I was going to mention, I wanted to thank you, Councillor Wedderbeam, as well, for keeping us up to date on the homelessness. I'm sure you remember, but yourself, myself, and also Councillor Ganang went to see managing homelessness and through the Niagara region last year sometime, I believe it was, with who's the guest speaker, Lane DeJean, I think it is.
Ian DeYoung. Yes.
And so that's I'm kind of curious how that's going to connect with what information they came up with, because if my memory is correct, it's been a little while, it was the idea of not managing homelessness the way how they have been. So I'm very curious to see how that goes moving forward, but I do appreciate the update in the brief there. So thank you.
So just if you may, Mr. Mayor, to allow me, so could I make a suggestion that when we meet about the 6-month mark on this pilot project for on-demand services, staff from the region, to invite them to come and give you counselors an update on how it's progressing, and they may be able to give you a more fulsome question and answer, and their numbers may be more definite, and you'll have a 6-month, and I'm sure they'd love to come out and present to council. And I think 6 months would be a good we'll say a good checkpoint in this process. And then as counselors, you can look at it, and it may be timely for August, September, October. So we're looking at early in the new year, and they may want to invite them prior to working on your budget, just so you may not want to wait another year. So I would encourage you to invite staff to help you in maybe any future decisions on this pilot program. That's my thoughts.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions for Regional Councillor? I just wanted to say that Ian DeYoung had been twice to the region to make his presentation, and Madam CAO and myself were able to catch the first one, and he's very powerful, and yeah, I totally concur, Councillor. If we can, he did change a lot of minds, or at least plug a lot of seeds, planted a lot of seeds in our minds about homelessness and the challenges. So that was a recommend. He came on recommendation of public health and social services, because they were fascinated by him and enamored with him, and thought, we need to get the regional leadership on board. So and then if there's no further for Councillor Whitting, then thank you very much, sir, and we'll move on. We have confirmation of minutes. Councillor Ganan, you have a resolution for council minutes, October 26.
As soon as I unmute, sorry. I do move by myself that the minutes of the October 26th, 2020 regular council meeting be accepted.
Thank you. And can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Jonker. And are there any comments or questions about those minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And thank you very much, Madam Clerk. That is passed. Moving on, we have the public meeting under the Planning Act minutes. Councillor Jonker, you have the resolution for this item.
I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the public meeting held on November 9th, 2020, under Section 17 of the Planning Act with respect to A, official plan amendment, Township of West Lincoln, regarding Spring Creek Heights Secondary Plan draft amendment number 57 be accepted.
I have a mover, seconder, please. Councillor Ganan, then you're seconding, and are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
Thank you very much. That is carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on, under communications, we have no communications. So I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to make a few remarks for the record. Basically, just two things to kind of highlight what we've been busy with. Obviously, Remembrance Day Ceremony took place on November 11th. We did have quite an agreeable day compared to obviously last year's snowstorm. The Legion hosted 50 individuals by invite in cohorts of 2, and I was able to attend with Fire Chief Fisher, and so we attended, and Chief Fisher laid wreaths, as did I, on behalf of the EMS, fire stations, and Town Council. It was followed by a brief luncheon, a small luncheon, and it was just one of those somber days of remembrance for those, and I'm very proud of the way that our municipality still remembers so thoroughly. The crowds are usually quite large. There were a lot of people who just couldn't stay away and socially distanced along the outside edge. So I thank this community for their remembrance. And then I'll get to you shortly, Councillor Riley. Kind of mention that in light of the meetings that Councillor Whitting talked about West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, in addition to that, Madam CAO and myself had another 4 meetings where we did some strategy and planning and talking points and try to get our presentation done well for both the committee meeting at the regional level and at the council meeting. So, I just can't say enough about the foundation and the leadership of the campaign team, Andrew Smith, Kevin Antonitis, and Pam Ellens, very, very key figures, as well as the work that the Councillor Ganan is doing on the Citizens Committee for the foundation. And there are a lot of people working very, very, very hard behind the scenes, meeting, finessing, getting facts, gathering data in order to secure the funding from the region first and foremost. Developing policy is something that they decided to do, and then moving forward into the future, we have exciting things looking forward to in 2021. Councillor Ganan, or sorry, Councillor Riley, you had a question?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just a brief one. And I can't recall if I reached out to you or Councillor Whittabine about this, but I'll ask it to you anyways. I know that there are some concerns around, I guess, the amount of people that were downtown in relation to the traffic that was going through, or at least traffic that had kind of pulled over to pay their respects. And so I just want to put the question out in the universe here to both of you, just perhaps next year, if it's possible at all. I realize the Legion is the one that takes care of the organization side of things, but perhaps, and maybe it's because it was being done mostly virtual, it wasn't really thought of or considered or required, but I think it'd be handy next year to maybe have a detour or some kind of traffic control just to ensure that, a semi truck that say is parked outside the road or comes down around the corner doesn't accidentally hurt anybody. So that, I just wanted to share that information that was expressed to me through the public.
I think it was just not necessarily an oversight so much as a development that took place. Generally speaking, when there are hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people present for the service, the road has been closed for years and years and years. And then I think the Legion, by invitation, had cordoned off a section for some local dignitaries and the like. And they did not anticipate the outer ring that formed for people who just felt compelled to look from a distance. And as a result, there was, it was noticeable, obviously, that the traffic was moving forward, and there were some, passersby who did pause. And it's just, I think. I don't think it was a mistake so much as a bit of just COVID challenges. And I hope next year we can get back to normal where we have a full service, close off the road properly. I'm sure that the Legion was fully apprised that might have been the only damper on the day, but thank you for raising that. And it will be, it's one of those things you plug into the shoulda, woulda, coulda category.
And if I could just say one, I think it's one of those things that was just unplanned or at least unforeseen. And maybe people figured there'd be some people, but not nearly as many people. So again, I think I'm not trying to blame necessarily anyone.
No.
Maybe we could put a little extra thought if we're in this situation. I agree with you. I hope we're not, but just in case.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions about what I said? Okay. Then moving on, we have a report of committee, planning, building, environmental. Councillor Ganan, you have the resolution for the minutes of November 9.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the open session portion of the November 9th, 2020 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and the recommendations obtained therein be approved with the exception of items, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the November 9th, 2020 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Riley, thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried, Madam Clerk. Oh, yeah, okay, good. I thought maybe you froze there for a second, but you're with us there, Councillor Jonker. We moving on.
It has been in and out.
Okay, so Councillor Rayner, you have the resolution for admin, fire, finance on November the 16th.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself that the minutes of the Administration Finance Fire Committee meeting held on November 16, 2020 be accepted, and that the recommendations contained therein be improved with the exceptions of items numbers such and such, and they have not been noted at this time.
Can I get a seconder for those minutes? I'm going to go to Councillor Jonker. And are there any comments, questions? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
Thank you very much. That's carried, Madam Clerk. Moving through reconsideration, the definitions there, and motion to rescind other business. Do any members of council have any new remarks that have not already been stated? Members of council, any council remarks? All right, there are none, Madam Clerk. And are there any new items of business that require immediate attention or direction? There are again none, Madam Clerk. So we move to bylaws. Councillor Riley, you have a resolution for bylaws, please. This month. Yeah.
I do, Mr. Mayor. Move by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2020-108, 2020-109, 2020-110, 2020-111, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto in any of the rule of council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Can I get a seconder for that? Councillor Trombetta. And are there any comments or questions on the bylaws? Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
Thank you. And that's carried, Madam Clerk. There are no confidential matters. So I'm pleased to adjourn this meeting at the hour of 7:33. I don't know if that's a record, but I appreciate your cooperation, everyone, and we'll see you next month. And